Now the fun begins.
Budget.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox Game Pass, and of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us, review us, rate us, all that jazz, whatever you got to do on there to show them that, yes, we may be a fucking dumpster on fire, but it's at least, it's like a car wreck. You can't look away sometimes. So at least let them know that, you know, there's a reason to come by wherever you get a podcast at. And of course, follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and of course, our dope giveaways. I'm your host, as always, Travis White, aka Travis, on most internet platforms. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, Mike P-Pack. Mike, what's good? What's going on? And what have you been playing this past week? Because I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, first and foremost, I just want to say, man, our intros and outros just so professional. It's about the only thing on our entire show that has any level of, you know, professionalness to it, I guess.
I learned a long time ago, you can only have one first impression. So if this is if that's the impression somebody gets for it's their first time listening to the show, and they hear that, they're like, holy shit, these guys got together. They're big time. Joke's on you, motherfucker. I'm dog shit. This is a fucking, like I said, a fucking dumpster on fire, just going down, heading down fucking 3 Mile Hill. Just. Anyways, go ahead, Mike.
But basically, for me, kind of a really interesting turn of events recently with a game that I love called Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. There's been I guess it's a mod. I don't know exactly how you explain it, but basically there's been a mod since 2014. I think it was called Rainbow Six Black Ops, and basically it combined all the like classic Rainbow Six games. So the original Rainbow Six, Rogue Spear, which is the second game in the installation, the expansions for Rogue Spear, which are Covert Operations, Blackthorn, Urban Operations and Blackthorn, I'm sorry. And all of those games are now in one place on Black Ops. There was a creator, I guess a guy who took it under, you know, he's just a huge fanatic and got into a little bit of programming and stuff, and took the project under his wing by the name of Minerva. He's from Italy, and he got the game up in working order for single player. Now there's been a few people that have pitched in to get it running on multiplayer. So a game that I used to play back in the year 2000, I've been playing pretty much nightly now. We've had a pretty good group running and been having some fun with it. And it's going to get relisted on Voobly. And if any of you know what Voobly is, it's basically an old school gaming platform, a lot like the old MSN Gaming Zone. It was pretty popular for Age of Empires 2 before the remake that came out on Steam did so well. So that's the game I've been playing most. It wouldn't be an update for me without giving some proper love in respect to a game that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I know you and Kyle both have. Phasmophobia came out with another content update today, basically changing some of the attributes and behaviors some of the ghosts. It's just a balance patch and some serious bug fixes. But the most important part of the update is some of the ghosts are going to behave kind of more how they're supposed to. Some people might argue, but more so they'll be. It's a lot more interesting. The ghosts are a bit more active. Mm-hmm. Some of the new cursed up items, which were like the haunted mirror, the music box, the voodoo doll, all that stuff has been updated a little bit to work a little bit better. So I just still want to give a shout out to the team over there working at Phasmophobia. They have been working their tail off improving this game. They've done some really awesome things with it, and I think, you know, they deserve all the affection and attention they've been getting recently. I know it's mainly certain content creators are huge on this game. Rightfully so. It seems like a pretty good game to be a content creator on because you can interact with chat and things of that nature. And it is entertaining to watch for a lot of chat, especially when you're good at the game. Mm-hmm. So I do just want to give that the due diligence. And if you haven't given that game a chance yet, first and foremost, I'm surprised you haven't. But secondly, I implore you to, go ahead, jump in. If you're into ghost hunting, if you're into stuff like that, I would really implore you to give that game a shot because it just keeps getting better. And that's something that, just before recording today, Kyle even made the comment where he's like, I feel like when we first started playing the game, it was pretty good. And he said, and it just keeps getting better and better. Like every time you and I play, the game just gets better. So I think, he's a super casual gamer, not like trying to use that as like a negative
derogatory term or anything.
Yeah.
Now, we could say derogatory things towards Kyle. We got all day if that's the case.
But I mean, he even notices it, and he's someone who wouldn't necessarily notice those types of really nice quality of life updates. So I think that all deserves to be said. And again, I think if you are any bit interested in horror games, if you're any interested in the paranormal, you don't even necessarily have to believe in it. I know a lot of people don't. But it's just a very good game, and it's 4 players, or you can play solo. It offers a completely different experience solo than it does with multiplayer. Ghosts are programmed to behave differently with like multiplayer or single player. So you kind of are always going to get a little bit of a different experience, which might be something that some of you might be interested in. So please give it a shot. But those are the 2 games I've been playing the most. And I've taken up enough time. Travis, why don't you fill us in on what you've been doing?
Yeah, man. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to Phasma, just in general, before I kind of get into my stuff. But I like to think we always have a platform available for, a lot of indie games that come up that we like to, if it's possible, obviously, give everything kind of its own due diligence and, whatnot. But, Phaz is a game that just keeps kind of growing, and not necessarily like, popularity or this or that, but it seems like the experience with Phaz, not from a sense of like, hey, look at all this new stuff we've added, but mostly like fine-tuning the game. Like, it seems like it keeps finding its niche, and it keeps perfecting what it's good at. Like, and I think that's really important for games like that they have, I don't want to say a gimmick, but their hook is very specific. It's a very specific style of game that you are playing. You have to like horror games or, stuff that is supposed to quote unquote scare you a little bit, like in theory. But most people aren't like, it has a little bit of a, how do I want to put it? I don't want to say barrier to entry, but it's more specified a little bit. So there has to be things that it's almost in the idea of, there's a reason why a house needs a foundation to be built up, because if you can't be you have to be really good and fine-tune the things that make people want to come to your game, and fine-tune that and perfect that first before you start building on top of that. Because if it's not fun to play, if it's a drag to get into games, and, especially like this, the gameplay loop that Phaz has is very specific, and if you can't perfect that and talk to that specific audience, then you have a problem. So, to me, like, they're the perfect, like, that game is the perfect independent game that can be shown off as, this is like, we're continuing to perfect the craft that we have with this game to the specific audience we have. And when we're building up new content first, as much as we can, but we're more focused on you getting the best possible experience with the actual game first and foremost, to keep you invested in it. Then we'll give you more content and, whatever else. But we want to make sure this game feels fucking fantastic to play. And I can't say enough good things about it in the way it's shown support, because we've seen a lot of, large-scale AAA games maybe miss the step on that. Or
Halo Infinite.
There's
3 people that work on Phasmophobia, and granted, I'm not trying to say that Phasmophobia is as big as a game as Halo Infinite.
Oh, absolutely.
But like, you have had no quality of life updates to your multiplayer or anything. Halo Infinite hasn't, and I mean, I guess technically you could say the big team battle and other stuff is quality of life, but like realistically speaking, you know, the team that works on Phasmophobia is like 3 people total work on that game.
I just want to throw this out there,
so well.
And this is not in me personally. Like I said, I still find a lot of, there's a reason why I've almost put 200 hours into Halo Infinite, just like you've put, you know, X amount of hours. There's something within the game that we do find somewhat fun, but we need to, the basis of the game is fun, but it's not as polished, perfected as we need it to be or you expect it to be. But, and obviously there's more, you know, Halo Infinite supported on more platforms, but as of right now at 3:51 on a Thursday afternoon, Phasmophobia almost has double the audience as Halo Infinite on Steam right now. So Phasmophobia has just under 20,000 people currently playing it right now in game, while Halo Infinite just has a little bit over 10. So just throwing that out there. Obviously, it's supported on, you know, Phasma is only supported on Steam, and Halo Infinite is supported on multiple platforms, but it's still interesting to throw out there that potentially the biggest piece of hardware that could be covered for your title, you know, is lacking very much so. So, anyways, though, positive stuff on my end, games I'm playing and whatnot. Kind of been status quo a little bit for what I've been playing compared to last week. Been picking away at Dark Souls Remastered. My playthrough on that, I'm stuck on fucking the boss battle with Smough and Oberstein, where you fight 2 bosses at one time, and it's a pain in the ass, and I've died like 20 times, but it's what people who enjoy Souls games find the allure of in, okay, yes, sometimes you're like, oh, okay, that was kind of not fair, but the majority of times whenever you are bested in that game, it's because you were bested, not cheated. It's more so, hey, okay, I need to attack this way next time, or I need to watch for, you know, this boss has a certain attack animation that they're going to hit me, you know, 3 times, 1, 2, 3, then their animation has a cooldown, that's when I can attack. Kind of stuff like that. So it's learning the game, and while it is playing it to a very specific, you know, at times requiring you to play it in a specific way, but I know this kind of contradicts itself, but still has open to, it leaves you open to interpret and tackle that, you know, that specific way in your own specific way. It's really, it's I just think there's something so unique about Souls games that there's a reason why they have their own genre, or people don't want to necessarily put them in action RPG, adventure RPG, RPGs in general, or action adventure games, yada yada. That Soulsborne games are their own beast in general. So I've been kind of picking away at that, getting ready for Elden Ring. Super excited about that. Obviously been kind of dipping my toe back in to Halo Infinite and whatnot, but to be honest, I haven't played it in a week, which is refreshing. Obviously been playing some Black Ops with you, Rainbow Six Black Ops, that is. Like you were talking about on the show, and I reiterate everything you say. You know, I'm having a fucking fantastic time with that. Been playing some Hunt to dip my toe into Destiny. Just kind of, I thought I'd be jumping in more to get ready for Witch Queen that's dropping next week, I believe. But I am still kind of behind on content from Beyond Light, so I need to kind of get back into that if I want to play it. We've also been playing a little bit of Super People, which I think is a pretty fun battle royale. It's very much, I don't want to say a PUBG clone, but very much from a mechanical standpoint, feels very much like PUBG, but also feels much, much smoother to play. And I really like the gameplay of that. Let me see what else. There was one. Oh yeah, that's right. Molly and I are playing through, and I think I mentioned it last week. I can't remember, but if I didn't, we're doing a playthrough of LA Noire. First time since I played through it with you and Adam back in the day, and we just fucking fell off because of one specific moment in the game. But we're having a great time with it. It's classic Rockstar storytelling and world combined. And Molly's really into that era of murder mystery and crime and stuff like that. So she's all for it. I dig the open worlds and just the livable worlds that you can get, and obviously the detailed worlds both from environments and characters that you run into within Rockstar games. So we're having a blast with that. It's been fun. But besides that, that's about it on my end. It's just been kind of like all over the place. There hasn't been that one game that I've like been like, man, need to jump on that right now, or man, need to get back into that. Just knowing, and it's even like I'm hesitant to keep playing Dark Souls just for the sole fact of like I'm worried that I'll get like burnt out on Souls games, and I don't want that to happen when Elden Ring's coming, because as of right now, like that's my like in February, that is my big game that I'm playing probably. Horizon Forbidden West comes out too, obviously on PS5, which I definitely will jump into that and get that, but I never thought I'd be in the situation where I'm choosing a Soulsborne game day one over a first party Sony, narrative driven open world game that traditionally is what I go to much more. But Elden Ring is really scratching a lot of what I want, and it's scratching that itch of, I'm really feeling something like that right now. So I'm trying not to get burnt out by Soulsborne games. I'm really trying not to. But I'm like in that mood right now to kind of tackle them. So fun stuff on the horizon, Mike. Fun stuff. Mike, let's get into, we have a couple of news articles and a couple of news stories that I kind of want to jump into. Kind of like quick hits across the board, but all kind of important and kind of interesting to kind of set the scene for. First being, though, that we learned this week that Microsoft has confirmed that Activision Blizzard will release games on PlayStation, quote, beyond existing agreements. I know that was a big topic that we kind of brought up, that we even kind of talked about this with, Bethesda, the Bethesda deal last year and everything, like, well, now almost 2 years ago. Well, no, it'd be like a year and a half. I don't know. Fucking time's a flat circle since this goddamn pandemic that I feel like we're never getting out of. But anyways, but yeah, kind of talking about that was one of the big deals around exclusivity with that deal. And, Phil Spencer saying, hey, we're going to honor the exclusivity deals that Bethesda already had in line with Sony, with Deathloop, obviously, and now with Ghostwire Tokyo coming up in March. So it makes sense. But this was obviously a big thing that was brought up when Blizzard and Activision was acquired, because while me personally, huge Bethesda fan, I am also cognitive in the ability to say easily that Call of Duty is a much bigger franchise than fucking, The Elder Scrolls Fallout, yada, yada. So that being exclusive is obviously a little bit much bigger, like, if that would happen, whoa, there's much more conversation around that. But it seems as though Microsoft is a little bit more interested in actually keeping that going in terms of, hey, we're going to still not only honor these existing agreements, but it sounds like they want to move forward with, let's just keep this going, third party almost in a sense. So this write-up's from Joe Screbbles over at IGN, as always, link in the description. Go over and check it out. Microsoft has confirmed that Call of Duty and, quote, Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles will not just be released on PlayStation to honor existing contracts, but, quote, beyond the existing agreement and into the future. In a piece published to explain how the company will adapt to gain regulatory approval for its Activision Blizzard takeover, President Brad Smith addressed concerns that popular games would no longer be available on competing consoles. Quote, to be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future, so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. Previous reports have indicated that the next 3 Call of Duty games would come to PlayStation, but not indicated what's beyond that. Smith added that Microsoft would be looking to assure the same for Activision Blizzard games on Nintendo consoles. Quote, we are also interested in taking similar steps to support Nintendo's successful platform. We believe that this is the right thing for the games industry, for gamers, and our business. There are caveats here, of course. Smith does not commit to all traditionally multi-platform Activision Blizzard games coming to PlayStation and Nintendo, nor does he commit to this agreement existing in perpetuity. This is to say nothing of brand new game development within Activision Blizzard after a takeover takes place. So it kind of hits the nail on the head a little bit, Mike. And not that I was expecting us to get word on this or confirmation, I guess. But in this time frame, I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised we're hearing about it right now, right away. So with that being said, Mike, one, do you think, since this has kind of always been a topic of discussion with these big deals, especially when it goes first party, we're talking about, being acquired by a first party publisher. Do you think this is the right thing for both Microsoft and obviously Blizzard as they're becoming one here? And on top of that too, while this is very much a, we're planning on doing this for the foreseeable future, yada, yada, whatever, marketing speak you want to go through, is this mostly just a blanket statement to kind of assure, hey, to our part of the market that we're usually very much heavily invested in, you're still going to be good for now, almost, in a much better way than just saying, yeah, for the next 3 Call of Duty games, you're good. They obviously want to make sure they move products, so it kind of would make sense, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've kind of talked about it, where I feel like alienating an entire fan base is probably not in anyone's best interest. Most of all, certainly not in Blizzard's best interest. Obviously, they have a lot less say in it, if you will, nowadays because of the deal with Microsoft. But at the same time, if you're looking to recoup some of the money that you spent on this what's going to wind up being an extremely lucrative deal, there's no reason for you to completely cut off a fan base like that. Now, what I'm fully expecting and what I'm sure will happen going forward is that basically, instead of like the betas being exclusive on PS2 or PlayStation.
PS2, holy shit, bust it back out, baby. Let's go.
Whether it be like the beta coming out on the PlayStation, it'll be out on Xbox first versus out on PlayStation first. But that's what I'm expecting. Maybe, I don't know about the DLC content coming out sooner on Xbox. I know that's been traditionally a thing they do on PlayStation. I don't know if that'll be something that they continue that trend on Xbox, but there's going to be certain kickbacks or certain things that Xbox players will get before Sony players get, and for good reason. I mean, Microsoft shelled out a lot of money for this company that this franchise is a part of, and they deserve to get some sort of compensation for it. And I think that's the smartest way to do it, is not to completely remove certain groups or people from playing your game, but just, giving little perks and incentives to the people that are playing on your platform. That's the way I would go with it. And I'm sure that's the way Microsoft is going to go with it. There might be some other things that are thrown in there. But that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what I'm expecting, fully.
Yeah, and I think, me personally, and this is just from observations and the way that kind of the industry is going with more and more of larger, IP like Call of Duty, like Halo, like, Fortnite and things like that. They're becoming more and more, obviously, platform-based, where, Call of Duty now is basically a platform. You have... when and this is me just doing it right now, when I click on my Battle.net launcher and then I go into, whatever it may be, Black Ops, Warzone, Vanguard, yada, yada, and I go in there and I just click, play, it takes me to one splash screen and I choose whatever once I'm in there. Like, Call of Duty is now basically one file where... when I jump in there and play it, I'm not necessarily, like, I'm playing Warzone, but I'm going through a Call of Duty launcher, basically, instead. And to me, like, exclusive content doesn't necessarily make as much sense, and we're starting to see that, in my opinion, pulled back a little bit, where, towards the beginning of the generation, and even just, a couple years ago, or I should say, last generation, towards the beginning of it, and, even just a few years ago, maybe 2017, 18, something like that, you did see a lot of, hey, exclusive Destiny raids are only going to be on PlayStation for the first, 2 weeks or month or whatever of the new season, or the next expansion or whatever. You're getting specific content that's held back. Same with Call of Duty. You're seeing exclusive content that's going to be maps only available on PlayStation right away. And then a year later, they come to Microsoft and PC. So to me, though, we're starting to see that more kind of fade away as we're starting to see more and more cross progression, cross platform play, that it doesn't make sense for the ecosystem that the developers and the publishers are building around these games. Now, that's not to say we're, whenever Project Spartacus, what is supposed to be Sony's response to Game Pass from what it's or the newer, a lot of people are expecting the newer version of PlayStation Plus that will incorporate a model like Game Pass to a degree, that there won't be, for, let's say, Destiny, they're not going to necessarily, or there won't be a, hey, if you have PlayStation Plus or whatever the new version's called, Project Spartacus, if you're a member of this, you get, I don't know, a few different engrams every month or skin or something like that for every month in Destiny if you are a member or something like that. Where like in like with Halo Infinite right now, if you're an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate member, you get perks every month. You get a skin or, whatever. Like stuff like that I can see because more and more of those deals seem to be coming up where it doesn't necessarily impact gameplay. Like it's just mostly cosmetics or it's minor things like that where, that thing is available to, or some of these things are available to other people on that platform just for a specific audience within their own ecosystem, if that makes any sense. I see it more maybe going that road, because at the end of the day, too, I've been saying for the past couple of weeks that I keep stealing from Paris Lily from Gamertag Radio and Kind of Funny, that you don't spend $70 billion to keep things the same, where obviously, I'm fully a believer at this point. If this would have came out and said, hey, Microsoft is saying, no, we're keeping this all in, like we're making Call of Duty exclusive, that wouldn't shock me. This doesn't even shock me either. But at the same time, like there's going to be something that comes from it where Microsoft turns around and says, okay, if you're a Game Pass member, you get access to multiplayer, 2 days early or of the next Call of Duty, or you get whatever kind of loot boxes, you get one a month or something if you're a Game Pass member, or, something along those lines where it's not necessarily like, or like you're saying, beta access. That makes a lot of sense too, where it's not like the final product's out and you're only getting 75% of it. It's not something like that where it's more so, it's a perk for those people who are invested in the platform that they own. And that makes sense. And I think that's what people are looking more and more at. And this is just more and more as gaming becomes more of a subscription-based model compared to, everybody and their brother now wants to have a streaming platform in terms of, streaming gaming like Luna and Stadia and Xbox with their cloud gaming. Like they're more worried about just bringing people into ecosystems and keeping them there long term. So if that means bringing you into Xbox's ecosystem, you're already playing Call of Duty, and I'm just going to play it on here because I know I'll get, 500 COD points every month or whatever, and I could for sure get a new skin that comes out every month. Like, cool, might as well, it's, and even if I want, I could always, just go and play on my PlayStation, but I have to get it on, I have to own an Xbox to get it, but I could still transfer all that stuff to my PlayStation because it's all cross-platform or something like that. I think it's going to be more like that, where they're just trying to retain money through a subscription model, I think, more in gaming now. And everyone's trying to crack that code of what's the best way to do that without just fucking gouging people and being overtly like, they're just trying to find a good medium of, what's the product actually worth and where can we make money off of it too at the same time, where it's just a fair business model. And I think the industry's still trying to kind of just grapple with all that, but that's what it seems like more to me. But I definitely agree that it's going to be more betas. It's going to be more things like that. And if you ask me, like at the same time too, while like I say that you don't keep 70 million or you don't spend $70 million to keep everything the same, at the same fucking time, Microsoft knows at the end of the day, they're going to make fucking money hand over fist keeping Call of Duty and other, Overwatch or whatever on PlayStation platforms. If they keep them there, they're going to make tons of money off of it. Like, it's not it's a win-win situation at the end of the day. If they make it exclusive, that means they drive more people into their ecosystem. If they don't, that means they're taking a cut of every fucking Call of Duty disc or download that they sell on a PlayStation platform. So, at the end of the day, there's no losing around it. They're still making money, and they're keeping, at the end of the day, it all just funnels back into Microsoft because they pulled out the checkbook and wrote the check, the big ass check, to say, hey, we're planning on, buying you, and here's the money, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So
I also fully expect older versions, maybe Call of Duty upon release, but older versions of the game, older installations of Call of Duty will 100% be on Game Pass. And I think the new Call of Duty will be day one Game Pass, which will be awesome for me because I have Game Pass and I really don't like spending money on the new Call of Duties. I've gotten out of the habit of it, and I'm excited for that because then I won't have to, spend the $60 on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest. Like, one, they already said, I think they already said we're gonna work to get as soon as possible as many Activision Blizzard titles as we can that have already been released onto Xbox Game Pass. And that's at the end of the day. We keep going back to, I mean, we've been saying this for, God, how many episodes, how many weeks, years now, that Game Pass at the end of the day is the true next-gen console for Xbox. That's all I don't want to say, that's all they care about, but that's their platform, that's their ecosystem that they're driving people towards. They don't care what the fuck you play their games on as long as you're playing their games. And their games are now including some of the biggest IP out there. So they don't care. Like, Phil Spencer has been vocal about he has interest in putting Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation platforms and on Nintendo platforms. Like, why the fuck not? Like, why wouldn't you? Sure, give them a cloud version of that and let them stream it. Like, why the fuck not? Put an app on there. If that means a couple more people are saying, well, shit, I can have both. If that means I can keep my PlayStation, all my buddies on there, that they all have PlayStation, but I'm interested in these Xbox games, and all that means is I have to buy the subscription service, for $15 a month. Sure, why not? That's a hell of a lot cheaper than a new console, but that's still money they're getting in, and that's commitment they're getting in. And sure, they keep that for a year. That's pretty damn good. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm right there with you. Like, it's soon enough, they're going to have all the Call of Duties on there, and they're all going to be first-party Xbox titles, which means they're going to drop day one on Game Pass, at least their standard version. So, I mean, it's a win-win deal for them. I mean, I'm a little hesitant on the whole, consolidation of the industry a little bit, because now we're starting to once again, this is truly going to kill the AA game because everything's either going to be massive AAA or something from first party, or it's going to be, an indie title, which is fine and dandy all itself. But some of the most interesting titles that are put out are right in kind of the middle of that. That, I mean, if you ask me, and It Takes Two, that really to me speaks. While it has, AAA platforming, it's not, some of the animation and things like that are very much AA, in my opinion. And it's an independent developer handling that, but with a, more closer to AAA budget than before that kind of equals out to what I think is the modern day AA project. And if you ask me, I'm worried that we're going to see less and less of that moving forward. So, anywho, though, Mike, let's head into our next article. And this one's a big one for both of us, man. I mean, it's a fucking big one. The Wolf Among Us 2, finally, we saw it. There's a new trailer out for it, and we got a release window of 2023. So next year. So knock on wood, that kind of remains, COVID's still a thing, and, the pandemic doesn't necessarily help work from home and all that shit, but you never know. I'm confident. It's been a while. It's been cooking. So anyways, though, Mike, this comes from Cass Marshall over at Polygon, as always, link in the description. The Wolf Among Us 2, the unlikely sequel to Telltale Games' mystery drama, is now set to be released in 2023. A new trailer gives us a look at protagonist Bigby Wolf and what he's up to these days. Wolf is both a private investigator and a werewolf who navigates a world of dysfunctional fairy tales. The Wolf Among Us is based off of the Fables comic book series, and it takes place in the New York neighborhood of Fabletown. In 2019, LCG Entertainment resurrected Telltale after the studios collapsed the year prior and revitalized the project. The Wolf Among Us 2 is now in development with Ad Hoc Studio, which is made up of previous Telltale employees, including developers from the original Wolf Among Us. Directors Nick Herman and Dennis Leonard, writers Pierre Shorty, composer Jared Emerson Johnson, and voice actors Adam Harrington and Aaron Yvette are set to all return to the project. The Wolf Among Us Telltale game series took place over 5 chapters, which were released over the course of 2013 and 2014. A sequel was in the works at Telltale before it was canceled. This iteration is a new project. The developer has been tight-lipped on progress so far, and this is the first substantial update fans have received since a text statement on Twitter in 2020. The studio is also working on a narrative story in the Expanse universe, starring fan favorite Kamina Drummer. So finally, Mike, we did get to kind of get a new look at the game, or a new look at the new iteration of the game, I should say. That this is a game that really you, myself, Adam, we've all kind of gravitated towards for a long time. And even, from me as a comic book nerd, and you've read some of them too, like the comic series Fables is fucking fantastic. I really, really, really think with the way this is being approached, that, and also to throw in there as well, that this game, while it will be released episodic too, there was a news article as I was pulling this one up before we went live that kind of came out maybe like an hour ago, that they got more confirmation that it will be episodic, but it will all be finished by the time this releases. So like a lot of issues with Telltale games and episodic games, that they tend to sometimes drag on a little bit in terms of their release because it's kind of being developed as it goes. So, but this will be finished and it'll be all in the can, good to go by the time it comes out in an episodic format. So just to keep that in mind. But this is a game that we all really kind of gravitated towards. One of my favorite games of all time. I would say probably my top 10 games of all time, The Wolf Among Us, the first season. But it's one of those games that are so wholly unique that you can't really experience it or explain it as much, or at least the draw of it, I think, unless you sit down and play it or show the source material of it. So I guess, Mike, from your end, what are you looking forward to most with this game in terms of, we've been waiting here for it'll be pretty much almost 10 years from releases of The Wolf Among Us and Wolf Among Us 2. What are you hoping to see from, I guess, this iteration of The Wolf Among Us? And since it's really, well, it is a continuation of the story, obviously, more so in the sense of this is kind of a new lease on life for this series. What are you expecting from this new iteration of Telltale? Well, comprised of old members of the original developer, but what are you expecting from this new iteration of Telltale with this franchise? And really, where do you think we could see this franchise go in terms of, do you see this being its chance to really kind of put Telltale back on the map and really say, hey, we could still make really interesting, I guess I should say, the Life is Strange crew aren't the only ones who could still make these really interesting and thought-provoking, action adventure, narrative driven, almost point and click style adventure, choose your own adventure style adventure games.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm looking for from this game, I'm curious to see what they do with the Unreal Engine, because obviously it's going to be a bit of a different direction. I'm sure
that's a great point to bring up, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a different experience than the first season of Wolf Among Us. Of course, I was kind of under the expectation and assumption that we had gotten all the Wolf Among Us that we were going to get. I'm thankful to be wrong on that. But it definitely has quite a bit of mysticism about it, in my opinion. Reason being, I just get worried about, I'm not worried about anything. It's just, I have zero idea on what to expect as far as gameplay is concerned. The trailer was really, spectacular in my opinion. Mm-hmm. While some people might argue that it didn't show much, which I can't argue with you there. Mm-hmm. I think it was pretty awesome to introduce, like, maybe, the Wizard of Oz characters making an appearance here.
Scarecrow just fucking ripping
a bong.
Wow, man.
It's just so awesome. And, obviously Big B's sitting in on potentially anger management classes. There's just so much to really peel back here that we just have no information on, and it's hard for me to really predict what to expect. I'm guessing if it's on Unreal Engine 4, I guess the question is it going to be a similar style experience with QuickTime events and all that, and more narrative driven, or is it going to be a little bit more? I hope it's. I mean, personally, I really enjoyed it. I hope it's not necessarily more open world, I guess. Some people might think it's kind of crazy, but that's just my feelings on it. I just don't think this game. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's best dressed as a narrative-driven game that you make decisions. People, obviously make opinions of you based on those decisions, and then going forward, it could affect the outcome of the game. I think that's the way that The Wolf Among Us is best served, and I'm hoping that's the direction that they're going with this. And I hope that the Unreal Engine just gives them way more possibilities and more. I'm sure it'll probably have some puzzles and things of that nature instead of just QTEs, which I think is important. And we'll see where they go from. I'm just ecstatic to finally get a little bit more info on The Wolf Among Us 2, because it was one of those things where I wasn't getting skeptical of its release. I believed that it was coming out. I was to the point where, like, until I see the fire, I won't believe the smoke. Like, there could be something smoldering there, and it's still on its way out. And I needed to see fire with this game, and now this is the first time that I'm seeing fire of this project, and I'm really excited for it.
Right, and I don't think you're necessarily crazy for thinking like, oh, what can this game, the evolution of this game really be, or this style of game? Because as more and more of, and this is somebody who loves the Telltale action adventure, I should really say adventure style, point and click QTE, narrative heavy game, somebody who's a big fan of Life is Strange and the like. The newest version of Life is Strange, Deck Nine's Life is Strange True Colors that came out last fall, that had more, it didn't have more open world elements, but it had much more space, and it was a little more expansive where, you got to control Alex Chen, and you had, hey, this is a new day. You have the option to do some stuff in your apartment before going out. And once you go out, like, you can explore the town. You can go and do different things in the town. You can, go and talk to different people that aren't necessarily, you're not forced to be in just one location, kind of, almost sets and scenes, where this is a little more expansive, that you can kind of go and kind of live in this town and see different things that are going on, talk to different people who are on different schedules. So it's really that kind of thing that I would like to see coming from, what is this next iteration of Telltale? Because, and I think too, the game that's based on The Expanse will kind of be a good indicator of what we can expect with that. Personally, I haven't watched The Expanse at all, though I know a lot of people are really who are like sci-fi heavy people are really, really, really high on that series. So I'm more curious to see, though, how the reception is with that. And while I agree, like, it's interesting to see what the transition to Unreal means really for them, because we all kind of know how bad the fucking Telltale engine was. Let's keep it a buck. Like, Telltale is not known necessarily for their tech and their software for being the most, groundbreaking, to say the least. There were a lot of bugs and things like that came with their older games, a lot of crashes, a lot of, things like that over time. But I think going to Unreal, something that has a little more flexibility and adaptiveness, that you can kind of, and has a little bit of scalability too, so more platforms this can go on. I definitely think having that tool set to design this game in there is really going to open a lot of doors for people with this product. And I think that's going to open a lot of doors for the developers working on this game to really kind of branch it out a little bit, give it, some of these bigger scale things. Now that there's more tech than there was 10 years ago, obviously, making these games, that you could start to have kind of these little iterative like increases of what's going on with these games and what style of games these can be, and who these can actually talk to, not just one specific audience. And not to mention too, like you were saying, where we're starting to get more and more into this world of The Wolf Among Us and getting to see, oh yeah, this does branch out into not just Snow White and the Magic Mirror and Bluebeard and stuff like that, where it's expanding into more other properties.
Toad.
And Toad Jr. Even though I can't remember, Mike, your last playthrough that you did you fucking send Toad to the farm?
I don't remember. It's been a minute.
I
may not have even gotten to that point.
Oh, I always send his ass to the farm because he's a dick. Realistically, you could be super nice to Toad throughout the whole thing, be super nice to his kid, and he's just a fucking prick to you all the time. So I'm like, every time it comes around of, oh, do I got to send him to back to the farm? You're goddamn right I'm sending that motherfucker back to the farm. Get the fucking step in, bitch.
I just worry about Toad Jr. when I send Toad back to the farm, because then Toad Jr. has to go to the farm. Yeah. It's really not Toad Jr.'s fault that Toad's such a prick.
Right, but at the same time, too, they're like, well, like, Toad Jr., I remember Snow White always being like, oh, well, Toad, you can go and, like, you'll have a lot of space to, like, you won't have to worry about being caught, like, swimming and things like that. Like, you could actually, it seems like, act like a kid, or at least a fucking frog kid, or humanoid, whatever you want to fucking call them. But the fact... We're getting off topic here, but but the fact of the matter is...
fuck Toad.
Yeah, fuck Toad, because his old big ass is fucking every time going to the farm if he wants to be a dick to me, because I'm all about helping people, but you know what? Fucking end of the line, pal. Get in the fucking truck. You're getting hauled off. So, but yeah, man, I'm really excited for this fucking game, and I'm really excited too that we're keeping it. I like the idea of keeping it episodic, because I think that's what benefits this style of game, the new iteration of adventure games, so well, is the episodic nature, like a TV show, like a book. More so TV, I think, like, wraps into it perfect, where it is very much like, okay, cool, we have an hour and a half, 2 hours, let's bust out an episode tonight, kind of thing like that. I think it really works for transitioning this kind of experience to people, compared to, hey, almost like an Until Dawn, which I love Until Dawn. I love, for what they are, I love the Dark Pictures anthology games. Having them be much more, hey, this is one long experience that is, maybe a 6-hour experience, 7-hour experience, but it's one continuous one, compared to, hey, you're going to have 5 episodes that are an hour and a half a piece. That cuts it up and it makes it feel much more digestible to people. And I think it speaks to a lot more people. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to get back into The Wolf Among Us. Fucking great franchise, great IP. And also, too, if you're a comic book nerd like myself, or you're interested in comics, or you're just interested in the IP in general, read the Fables line from Bill Willingham. They're fucking fantastic. You can find them at pretty much, Barnes & Noble, any comic book shop, online. Amazon has all of them, yada, yada. But give that a shot. It's really dope. So, Mike, let's head into our last news article for this week. And there's not much to report on it necessarily, because it's like, well, yeah, and water's wet kind of thing. But shockingly enough, and I shouldn't say this because so many people are like, there's a couple people that were in games media or in the games industry side that were like, when they're talking, like, you really expected them to not be making this game, or blah, 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 or this or that, and oh my God. And then you got to understand, this IP reaches a much more, this IP reaches past the person who goes on gaming websites and goes on, listens to a ton of gaming podcasts and things like that, who are very much in the echo chamber. Basically, Rockstar has confirmed, hey, yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is actually a thing and is in actual active production right now. But it's an IP that goes much further past in pop culture than just, hey, the hardcore gamer. This goes to Joe Blow, who only buys 1 or 2 games maybe a year, or hasn't bought a game in a long time, and oh shit, a new Grand Theft Auto, you know what, maybe I'll pick up an Xbox for that kind of thing. So anyways, though, this comes from Paul Tassi over at Forbes. As always, link in the description. Go over there, give Paul a click. The success of Grand Theft Auto 5 has been both a blessing and a curse. A blessing for Rockstar making zillions from the success of GTA Online, and for those deeply invested in the world, which has continually gotten new expansions and additions. But a curse for those waiting for GTA 6, as Rockstar is now about to release GTA 5 across 3 different generations, cementing its massive lead as the best-selling game in history, endlessly delaying a true sequel. Now, however, Rockstar has finally stated the obvious. They are working on the next Grand Theft Auto game, which we're all calling GTA 6, but Rockstar stopped short of saying a number that outright. Quote, "With the unprecedented longevity of GTA 5, we know many of you have been asking about a new entry in the Grand Theft Auto series. With every new project we embark on, our goal is to always significantly move beyond what we have previously delivered. And we are pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. We look forward to sharing more as soon as we are ready, so please stay tuned to the Rockstar Newswire for official details." This is the quote catch I'm talking about here, because I don't know if we can say for sure if this is going to be GTA 6 specifically, either the name or the concept. While you would think the safest play might be to just exactly replicate what they did with GTA 5, do a big single-player campaign in a separate online mode, the success of GTA Online itself may end up fundamentally changing the way Rockstar makes this series going forward. As such, I can't imagine a, quote, new entry in the Grand Theft Auto series being a massive game that is perhaps online from the start, including for its base campaign. And not to use the M word, but there are less compelling metaverses than what Grand Theft Auto Online has become, and Rockstar may want to lean into that even further to try to get ahead of competition trying to make their own virtual world. As such, I could see a future that blended a traditional numbered GTA sequel and GTA Online, and who knows what that might just be called. Just saying, it may not be GTA 6 exactly. So, and then also too, Paul mentions as well, Rockstar gave no indication about this game, that this game is actually coming, or when this game is actually coming out. Jason Schreier predicts a, quote, fake release date of holiday 2023 may be being announced, but then that slips to 2024, as all huge games end up delayed at least a few times in this day and age. Regardless, GTA 5 will live on as it keeps selling, and Rockstar is gearing up for more additions to a standalone GTA Online as well. So,
better be careful using that metaverse term. Old Kuckerberg's gonna come a knocking.
True. Hey, do you want to sign up for Facebook?
I'm sure I'm sure it's probably in the process of getting trademarked somehow, and the people at the trademark office are like, "What the fuck are you on about?" My door busts
down. The giant lizard walks in, and I'm like looking at him. And he's like, "What? What are you looking about?" "Oh God, my skin! It's not on! Damn it!" No,
he forgot his. What are those from Wolf Among Us?
Oh, fucking oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. That you go and get from the witch. God damn it.
Yeah.
That's gonna fucking piss me off now. It's we're not continuing until I fucking figure this out. This is pissing me off. Glamours.
Oh yeah, he forgot his glamours.
Yeah.
Before he shows up, huh?
Fucking lizard man coming in here. God damn it. Anyways, though, Mike, like I said, it shouldn't be like it's not shocking to us who just, cover the news in gaming and what's going on in gaming and play a ton of games and are very in tune to the industry. To us, yeah, no fucking shit. Rockstar's making another Grand Theft Auto. Like, even with the success of Grand Theft Auto Online, like, of course they're going to make another Grand Theft Auto, because guess what? If they just put out something that is like, even if they put out a reskin of Grand Theft Auto 5 in the same engine, doing the same things, and just fucking like make like some minor change, like switch up the world a little bit and add a new skin to the campaign basically, and put a 6 on it, people are going to fucking buy it hand over fist. Like, It's just one of those cash cows that cannot be ignored ever. So, of course it was coming, but you do have to keep in mind this is a franchise where we have to keep in mind that this is a franchise that expands large beyond just the hardcore gamer. So while we don't obviously know a lot about this, we can expect kind of like, okay, yeah, it's obviously going to be, Grand Theft Auto Online is going to be a big part of it. And, it's going to obviously be akin to, at least from the vision and the breadth at minimum, of what Red Dead 2 did, because they said in the blog post, like, we want to make sure we're iterating on. And that is one thing that I will give Rockstar credit. When they make new games anymore, they're almost like Valve, where they need to be able to, like, they're putting out new software if it's pushing the envelope. And even from Valve's standpoint of, the Valve Index and the Steam Deck and things like that, from the hardware side, but mostly they're putting out software that is a means to push the industry. And that's very much what I look at as Rockstar, from their world building, their narrative. They make cinematic, well, I would say single player, but they also make incredible online multiplayer games, one of the most popular games in the world in Grand Theft Auto Online. It's tough to say, like, what really this game could be, because I personally think, like, I would not be shocked if this game comes out and it's not Grand Theft Auto 6, it is just Grand Theft Auto. It is just like we're seeing with Call of Duty, Halo.
Like, it's just going to be a live service.
It's just going to be a live service that, yes, like Halo, you're going to get a campaign in there, and you're probably going to get multiple campaigns down the road, but you're going to get a platform that is Grand Theft Auto, and it's just going to live and breathe. And you could play it single player. All the content's going to be there. You're going to get more content, but it is a live service platform. It is going to be, you jump in, and if you want to just dick around with your friends, hell yeah, it's right there. You can do all of that. So what do you think we should expect from, or what would you even want? I know you're not the biggest Grand Theft Auto guy, but you do like Rockstar. You do like Red Dead. Like, what should we expect from a Grand Theft Auto 6? Like, should we expect any single player content in terms of, like, traditional, like, Red Dead release style of a new Grand Theft Auto game, where, yes, you are buying a single player product first and foremost, and then obviously they're going to have because Grand Theft Auto Online is not going anywhere forever. Mm-hmm. What should consumers expect out of this, or what can we hope for even? Or it's just, to me, it's a big ball of wax, man.
Yeah, I think in terms of Grand Theft Auto, you have to realize that this is Rockstar's baby. It always has been. It'll get double the effort that Red Dead Redemption 2 got. Yeah. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Red Dead Redemption 2 was it wasn't necessarily an embarrassing effort, but Rockstar,
it definitely didn't speak to the amount of people that I thought it would speak to. I loved it personally, but it is very much a slow burn compared to Red Dead 1. It is much more based in realism compared to, I don't want to say parody, but Red Dead 1 had much more of a satirical nature, like Grand Theft Auto did. It had that lightheartedness a little bit to it, where Red Dead 2 did not. It was just a realism-based simulation Western.
Yeah, and, I'm someone who really liked Red Dead 1, thought it was great, was excited for Red Dead 2, felt a little let down by Red Dead 2 for sure. And, you could tell that they basically released Red Dead 2 because, I don't even know that it was because they had more story to tell. I think it was honestly because they knew there was money to be had there. They weren't, gonna leave money on the table. Rockstar would never. Not trying to be a big dick, because they are, relatively one of the most, one of the better development studios out there as far as just what the fans want. But they weren't going to leave money out there. You could tell that they were still 100% focused on GTA Online when they were making Red Dead 2. And I'm not saying that's why Red Dead 2 came out and was the way that it was, but I would say that they 100% weren't absolutely focused on, Red Dead 2, unfortunately. They were still really focused on GTA 5 Online, and why wouldn't you be? Look how much money they make off of it. Mm-hmm. I would expect it fully to be a live service game. I would say that there will be a single player campaign mode, if you will, or whatever single player mode, because that's just traditionally always been what GTA's been about. There will be like a Red Dead or a GTA Online, which will, take over for the GTA 5 Online. Mm-hmm. But I would fully expect this game to be a live service game where new content's released pretty regularly. somewhat like a Destiny, somewhat like what they're doing now with it. It'll just be on a newer engine that runs better, and it'll give them more freedom to do more stuff on it. And that's what I would, expect from, the new Grand Theft Auto. I wouldn't expect much more from it either, to be honest. That's what you're going to get. Whatever they see giving them the most money going down the line, that's what to expect from Rockstar. And they've always kind of been that way. I mean, I think, GTA 4 and Red Dead 1 were kind of the swan songs, in my opinion, for Rockstar as far as being super consumer oriented. I wouldn't say that they've completely forgot or completely lost their way, but I'd say that they're more focused on making money than they are appeasing consumers at this point in time.
Yeah, and
they're basically EA, except for they release quality content.
Right, yeah. I definitely get what you're saying, but I totally agree that, like I was saying before, like there's not a doubt in my mind that Grand Theft Auto will not be a truly single player experience ever again. It will have single player experiences within it, but it won't be, hey, I go to the store and I am just buying GTA 6 in the fashion that I've have in previous iterations or in previous iterations of any Rockstar title, where you're going to go and buy a platform. It will be Fortnite. Rockstar will have its it already does technically have its Fortnite, but it'll much more have its Fortnite in the sense of, like Bungie wishes they could have just had Destiny 1 and never released Destiny 2 and just all that content just be Destiny. It's all under a blanket thing where it's almost like when you think of a tissue, you think of Kleenex. Like, they want that brand recognition with all of these platforms that people just think video games, they think like they do Grand Theft Auto or Mario or Zelda or whatever. Like, they just think, I got to buy Grand Theft Auto. And now they're eventually going to go to it, just like Call of Duty right now. I have to get Call of Duty. And once you get into the Call of Duty ecosystem, there's multiple options, but you got to get Call of Duty. They want to have this banner there. And I think that, to be honest, and that would make a lot of sense in terms of probably the scale they want to do with this game, because you would have to think, you look at the breadth of Red Dead Redemption, like, and just pulling up map size. So, like, we're talking about a 75 square foot or square mile map within within Red Dead Redemption. And that's just like, not even in spoilers, obviously, for Red Dead 2. That's before you go back to fucking, like, Red Dead 1. Like, we're just talking about new areas within the map that you're exploring we're talking about specific to Red Dead 2. Like, if that's what they're looking at compared to Grand Theft Auto 5, like, the jump between those two, like, this game's going to be dense and massive. And to me, we're going to get to the point where it is going to be like a Destiny, where you could run all these missions, you could do whatever, yada, yada, and you're going to have a single player campaign, or, you will have a version of Grand Theft Auto 6 within there, but the map's going to be ever evolving. You're going to have new places pop up. You're going to have new places go away. Old places go away. You're going to have, expansions. You're going to have maybe a new island or something like that. Who knows? But point being, you're going to have new iterations of this game, or you're going to go, it could be even like World of Warcraft, where you're choosing various points to start at, where maybe maybe there's a couple different places, and maybe it's server based or whatever, who knows, but that you're starting in New York, or you have another character that's in San Francisco, or you have another character that's in Houston, like that kind of thing, or wherever they want to actually make up the name of where they're at, Liberty City or, Vice City or whatever, that you're going, yeah, Gotham, before you could travel between them and stuff like that, where you're having multiple maps or you're having this big overworld kind of thing. I can't see them ever really going back to a traditional release schedule now that the success of Grand Theft Auto Online has had. I can't see that ever becoming like, I can't see single player ever becoming more than Grand Theft Auto Online in terms of focus and importance of they know what's making them money and they know what is, and not just making them money, but they know what people are gravitating towards right now with their products, and that's what it is. Now, granted, if they did just put out a standard single player experience with, you know, hey, whenever you're buying this, it blends right into, obviously GTA Online's included with this and you're able to get right in and play it, yada yada. You know, that's one thing, and they still may have versions of that, but GTA is no longer going to be GTA Online and the single player. It's just going to be, you're going to get a banner of Grand Theft Auto. Just like if we ever see another Red Dead, which, you know, I don't think we will, but, you know, and especially too with, I don't want to say the lackluster, but, you know, the struggle that Red Dead Online has had in comparison to GTA Online, you know, we would still see a new release of a single player component to Red Dead Online kind of thing. So I think it's going to be more, it would be tough. You'd be hard pressed to find something that is going to be reminiscent of a traditional box copy of Grand Theft Auto 6 in terms of how we found it in the past. It will be Grand Theft Auto, including Grand Theft Auto 6, I think, personally, or some iteration of that, sure, they're still going to get it into all the stores possible that they can because they want to cast that net as fucking wide as they can because it'll just print money. But at the end of the day, I just see where the industry's going, and I'm seeing where Rockstar's going in general, and the support that Red Dead got, and knowing how much of a cash cow GTA Online is. You can't ignore it. I mean, it's caused one game to last for what will be over a decade. I mean, it's had the longevity of only a much more widespread longevity of a Skyrim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a little and more of a, you know, pop culture impact.
Jesus, so. I just had a shudder. Like, I just got chills from that. Like, you saying Skyrim it just leaves me such a bad taste.
I know. I'm sorry. Anyways, Mike, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet to talk about all the dope stuff we talked about today? Grand Theft Auto 6, of course, The Wolf Among Us Part 2, or 2, whatever you want to fucking call it. Season 2, you know what I'm talking about. Blizzard and Activision, of course, naturally. Where can people find you on the internet to talk about all that?
You can find me on Twitter at TOYSXLDIER. That's Toy Soldier, and the second O is an X. Or you can find me on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier. Nice.
And as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travlis, on most internet platforms, including at Travlis_ on Twitter. That's TRAVLESS_. You could also find me streaming time to time on twitch.tv/Travlis_, same as Twitter. I've been doing some Dark Souls streams on there, so come through. Help me out, maybe, but you can also make fun of me, too, on there, because I make fun of myself playing that fucking game. And, of course, you could also, if you want to play some games with me, you could do so over on Xbox Live and pretty much any other platform. It's just regular old Travlis. That's TRAVLESS, no_. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been your newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and, of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all that jazz wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast to stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like and or dope giveaways. Mike, that's going to do it for our episode this week. Thank you everyone so much for listening, sharing, and being a part of our growing community. Game on, wash your hands, listen to the doctors, Black Lives Matter, and we will see you next week.